A solução de problemas e de traumas de outras vidas que tivemos pode levar à cura das dores de hoje. É um novo caminho para a medicina, que reúne os conhecimentos científicos tradicionais e a experiência da regressão. Terapia de vidas passadas. O psiquiatra norte-americano, Dr. WEYS, que só no Brasil vendeu 1 milhão de livros sobre este tema, esteve no Rio de Janeiro para lançar o seu último livro, que traz uma revelação. Uma espiadinha no futuro, nas vidas que ainda teremos, pode provocar mudanças positivas no presente. Dr. WEYS, how can we have access to a record, to information about a life in the future that our soul hasn't lived yet?
It's really a complicated issue. I've been doing past life regressions for 25 years with more than 4,000 patients. And sometimes my patients would go into the future as well. In the past, you can validate it. You see people getting better, but you can check out names, dates, specific details. In the future, it can be a combination of metaphor, symbolism, or actual memory. But I see many people, for example, who have dreams of the future and they come true. Sometimes people have memories of the future in this life, and if you wait a few weeks or a few months, it happens just as they saw it in the hypnosis session. Now, future lives you cannot tell yet, but I still see the future, the near future, coming true. People have won lotteries based on dreams of the future. People heal their bodies based on future memories. So for me, as a psychiatrist, as a therapist, my goal is to help my patients to heal. Whether you can prove it or not, the past we can prove, the near future we can prove, but as long as my patients heal, that's the important thing to me.
In which ways knowing our future lives can help us in our present life?
Well, one of the cases in my new book is of a man who saw in a future life that he was about to commit suicide. He had a gun to his head. And then we explored that, and it was a business failure, in this case a relationship where he was cheating on his wife, but the wife's father was his boss, and it was very complex. In this life, he had suicidal thoughts because of a business failure. His partner was embezzling money. He didn't even know this. He just knew the business was failing. He felt shame. And he was thinking about suicide in this life. But when he saw in his next life that you have to repeat this pattern, if you commit suicide in this life, you're going to be faced with the same situation in future lives. He changed his behavior. He said, I don't want to repeat this. He allowed me to treat him to help cure the depression. He took a different route. In another case, a father was seeing me, and his daughter was dying of leukemia, a very serious cancer of the blood. And he saw in the future progression that he was playing with his grandchildren, her children. So he knew that she couldn't die because she didn't have any children yet. She was young. And so he changed his whole approach to her. It became more loving, more supportive. Her immune system got healthier. She went into remission. The leukemia disappeared. She has a child now. So I can see the future happening. And that's how we prove it. But you have to be more patient. You can't prove it right away, as you can with past life memories.
As a traditional doctor, you were very skeptical about regressions experiences. When you meet Catherine, the patient that you describe in your first book, Many Lives, Many Masters, you changed your mind. Why? What was the proof?
Well, there were a lot of things with Catherine. I was not only skeptical, I was closed-minded. I didn't believe in any of this. She had severe symptoms, panic attacks, phobias, depression, insomnia, and we weren't getting very far in the traditional psychotherapy. She also had a fear of gagging or choking, so she couldn't take any medicines. She was afraid. And I wanted to use hypnosis to take her back into her childhood. Hypnosis, this state of deep, focused relaxation, it helps the memory. So we went back to her childhood. Her symptoms remained severe. The next week, we went back again, and I said, go back to the time when your symptoms first began. She went back 4,000 years, because that's when her symptoms first began. In that lifetime, she drowned. At the end of the life, there was a flood. And when she remembered that, after she remembered that, the fear of choking or gagging disappeared. And I knew, well, fantasy or imagination doesn't take away such lifelong symptoms. And week by week, as we remembered past lives, she started getting better. She got rid of all of her symptoms. That was 25 years ago, and I've treated more than 4,000 patients in my office, and many, many more patients in groups over the past 25 years. But something very strange happened to me. I know the Brazilian people will understand this more. Americans have a harder time with this, but for me it was shocking. She died in a Middle Ages lifetime, in the 4th or 5th session. She floated above her body, finding a beautiful light. And she said there were 2 people there to see me, my father and my son. Both of them had died before Catherine began her therapy. And she started telling me details, medical details about their deaths, their lives. My son had a very rare congenital heart defect, a heart disease. She described that. It's not written anywhere. There's no place to look this up. I asked her, where are you getting this information about my father and my son? And she said, from spirits that are around me. Master spirits, she called them. That's where the name Many Lives, Many Masters comes from. I didn't believe in any of this, not in other dimensions or spirits or past lives. And here it was being proven to me.
People that are in very deep pain, suffering because they lose their close, dear relatives, are the ones more attracted to regressions. How can you be sure that someone can really travel through time and find a mate soul?
Yes, well, sometimes those people do come, but also people come just suffering from phobias or fears, not always sadness or depression or grief. We've had so many people, for example, I saw a Chinese surgeon, a woman from Beijing, who came with an interpreter because she was curious. My work is well known in China, and she wanted to experience this. And she remembered a lifetime in San Francisco, California, in the US, about 150 years ago. This is working with the interpreter. She could not even say hello in English. And in this past life, living in California, she was having an argument with her husband. She began in my office to speak in very fluent and colorful English. The translator did not realize what was happening at first, and he began to translate the entire thing back into Chinese for me. I told him, stop it, I understand the English. So when you see this, it's called xenoglossia. People speaking foreign languages that they never learned. 30 minutes before, she couldn't even say hello. Now she's speaking fluent English. This is not imagination, this is not fantasy. We've had so many people, I've had people find their children from a past life, and the children confirm exactly what the patient is saying. This is not grief, this is not imagination. For example, the children might be 30 or 40 years older now than the parent because they were children in a past life. Then the parent dies, the parent is born again, reborn, reincarnated, grows up, finds, because of the past life therapy, the children, there's a reunion, and the children confirm memories that may have happened 80 years ago or 70 years ago. This is validation, this is proof. And we have thousands of validation cases. I'm not even talking about the healing cases, but thousands of confirmed, validating cases. This is not imagination.
Is it common that someone's soul, someone that is very close to us, mother, son, maybe their souls are close to us also in other lives?
Yes, I find this pattern a lot. We call it families of souls. The relationships may change. For example, your grandmother may die, and she may be born again as your grandson or as your son or something like that, or could be best friends, could be siblings. We travel together through time, with many of the same souls, even though the bodies change and the relationships change.
What are the main diseases or emotional disturbs or psychological problems that could have a cure through past life therapy?
Phobias are the most easily treated. For example, if you were thrown off a castle wall in the 15th century, and now you have a fear of heights, this will disappear when you remember the ancient lifetime, because you know it was then, not now. So any phobia, fears, anxieties, depression, but also psychosomatic illnesses, pain, disease. There's a very interesting and important case, I think, in the new book, Same Soul, Many Bodies, about a very famous person in the United States who had severe back pain. She had it because of cancer and surgery, radiation, deterioration of the vertebrae, the spinal discs. 17 years, every day, severe pain. She had to take strong medicine that she wouldn't take during the day because she needed her mind clear, but she had to take it at night to sleep. When she remembered an ancient trauma 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and she had a healing in that life. She was a man, and she had a healing in that life. At that moment, in the current time, this happened in New York, her back pain disappeared. It was 3.5 years ago. She hasn't had one more day of pain. She stopped taking her medicine immediately. She was treated at Sloan Kettering Hospital, a famous cancer hospital in New York City. The x-rays are different. The bone is regenerating. The spinal discs are regenerating. And her hair, because she's in her early 60s, has been growing in gray, like mine, but even more. And she was having it colored, but now her hair started growing in black, as when she was younger, after this experience. It was so profound that it even changed the color of her hair. Her hair colorist thought she was cheating on him, that she was seeing someone else. But no. So it's used for physical symptoms, for pain, for helping the immune system, in addition to these psychological disturbances.
If you have all these benefits, why these techniques aren't more used? Do you think there is still a resistance in medical area?
There is. I train therapists from all over the world now, about 200 every year, to use past life regression and future progression in their practices. And they sell out every year. Not enough spaces for the people. So there's less resistance. But there is, because it's new. There was resistance to psychoanalysis for many, many years. There's always a resistance to new techniques because it's unfamiliar.
Who can command a regression section or a past life therapy? A person has to be a doctor, a psychiatrist, in your opinion?
Well, that's a very interesting and complicated question, because, for example, in Brazil, many people who are not therapists are doing this work too, and they may be excellent. I don't know them. But I prefer that people who do this are trained as therapists. Does not have to be a psychiatrist, can be psychologist, or in the United States we have other designations of therapists, but it's usually 2 or 3 years of postgraduate training in therapy. For example, social workers or marriage and family therapists or mental health therapists, and that's okay too. But that way you can deal with the material that comes up. It may be very emotionally charged. People may have lots of important emotions, and the therapist is already trained how to integrate this, how to analyze, how to interpret. So I think that it's better to have training as a therapist. You'll do a more complete job. But I understand that many people who are not therapists are doing this work also.
And this can be dangerous.
It's not dangerous, except if the therapist keeps pushing, because the untrained therapist. The subconscious mind of the person is very protective. It won't let things come up that are going to cause too much anxiety or stress. It won't happen. But if you're in normal psychotherapy, you have emotional memories. This is part of the therapy. We want that. It's called catharsis or abreaction. And so the untrained therapist may not know what to do with that. And it can be not dangerous, but the person may leave with stress and then have to go see a therapist. So why not go to the therapist in the first place if you want a past life regression or a future progression?
So is it safe to be hypnotized?
Yes, hypnosis is very safe because hypnosis is just relaxed, focused concentration. When you're reading a good book and you don't hear the traffic noises around you, that's hypnosis. It's focused concentration in the relaxed state. You can open your eyes at any time. You can end it at any time. You're always in control. If you're at the movies and you don't hear the people eating popcorn next to you, that's hypnosis, a light state. So I take them deeper, but they can end it at any time.
But can anyone be hypnotized and go to past lives, or there is a percentage that will never get this?
There's a percentage that will never be hypnotized, about 15%. They cannot concentrate, or they have Alzheimer's or dementia or psychosis because of these illnesses. Or some people are afraid. They're afraid, I'm giving up control to the therapist. They're not. You never give up control. It's just concentration. So they may block it mentally. But I can tell you that about 85% of people can be hypnotized. Of that group, 2/3 of people in general have past life memories, can have past life memories. So that's a lot of people. As I travel through Brazil, sometimes in the past I've done workshops. 2/3 of the people in the audience have past life memories. You know, the belief in reincarnation in Brazil is different from in the United States. In the United States, in a Gallup survey, about 1/3 of people believe in reincarnation in past lives. But in Porto Alegre one time, I was in Rio Grande do Sul, and we did a survey of the entire state. And in Rio Grande do Sul, 2/3 of people believe in past lives, the opposite of the United States. So I know Brazil, because it's so spiritual, is very open-minded to these concepts.
How can meditation help this process? Someone can go through a past life by himself?
Yes, you do not need to have hypnosis. People have it all the time through meditation, which is a similar technique. And this is used a lot in India and countries in the East.
The Buddhists?
Yes, Buddhists and Hindus, they remember past lives through meditation.
I read in your website that you are not accepting patients at this time. Is it true? Why?
Yes, it's true, because the waiting list for me is 5,000 people. So I'm never going to see that many people in this life. So I can't, it's too much. So there's no sense of accepting new patients because the waiting list will never be short enough in this life. So I've decided to train for 2 reasons. 1, because not everybody can see me. 2, I can teach other people to do these techniques. It's not so difficult. I don't do anything that's magical or special.
What can you describe? What are your main techniques, or how it works?
I put people into the deep state, like hypnosis. I can do that very quickly or over a longer period of time. People then go into this deep state. The memory is enhanced. They're not sleeping. They're just in this very deep state of relaxation. And then I take them back in time. I say, I'm going to count backwards from 5 to 1. Then you will go to your childhood. And they will. They'll have memories. Or in utero, in the womb. Or into a past life. Or into a future life. You can see in the technique with Nancy, that's all I did. I talked to her. But there are many faster techniques, too. And it's not something magical. I can train a good therapist to do this in a week or 2. And then they can practice. Now I have trained more than 2,000 therapists all over the world. And they're doing past life regressions.
You saying it sounds so easy, but it's hard to believe that it is that easy. Isn't there a trick or a key specific to open these doors?
The only trick is to help people go inward, to concentrate, because all the answers are already there. So to unlock it, I put people into this deep state, and they remember. It's not that complicated. For example, there's a doctor in the United States. His name is Ian Stevenson. He has more than 2,000 cases just of children. He doesn't do it for therapy, but only children who have past life memories that he has confirmed. He's talked to the parents from the previous life, or he's confirmed it. It's not that hard to do. That's what I tell the skeptics. And most of the skeptics are psychiatrists. I'd say to the skeptics, try it. I can teach you to do this if you're a therapist. I can't teach therapy in a week or two. That takes years. But I can teach the techniques of regression therapy. Do it. Try it. You'll see that it's not so complicated. If we had more time, I could show you that, but it really doesn't take so much time. And that's the irony of it all. It's really quite simple. People have the memories, and they feel better. They don't have to go to therapy for 10 years. We can do this so much faster. And it's not invasive. It doesn't take surgery. It's very, very safe. I don't need to sell it. There's so many more patients that want this therapy than there are therapists who are available to do it. I'm just trying to sell it to the therapist so that they can make the process available to the patients. Because Many Lives, Many Masters, for example, is now in nearly 40 languages. It's all over the world because the interest is in all countries. People want to have this treatment, not just for grief, but for healing, for understanding, for losing their fear of death. We don't die when our bodies die. We go on, our souls, our spirits, our consciousness, and this is very healing to people to know these things. There is no magic, there's no mystery. It's like psychoanalysis, except it's much faster.
In your opinion, what is the biggest evidence, the biggest proof that really our souls can travel, that they exist, and they have past and future lives?
Well, I think from my patients. For me, it's accumulation of evidence, 4,000 years, watching people go through past lives, die in their past lives, review it, then their symptoms in this life get better. Because if there weren't a connection, their symptoms wouldn't get better in this life. Fantasy and imagination doesn't heal sometimes very, very serious symptoms and illnesses. So that for me is the biggest proof, just the sheer numbers.
So destiny and free will can work together in our lives.
Absolutely. Destiny is the people we meet, the important moments in our life, because we have lessons to learn here about compassion and love and nonviolence and patience. And we meet certain people, that's destiny. But how do you act after you meet the person? That's the free will. For example, you can make an agreement before your birth, you'll meet this person and you'll get married and you'll work together to learn these lessons. But what if you meet the person and you think, well, you live too far away, or you're not wealthy enough, or there's some other problem, or my parents don't like you, or something like that. That's the free will. You met, you intended to get married, but now you use your free will to say, no, I know this man and he's much wealthier and he lives closer to me. That's the free will. So you have to follow your heart. You have to follow your intuition, because it's from the free will that we learn our lessons.
Thank you. Nesse almanaque você conheceu as ideias e as teorias do Dr. Brian Weiss, médico norte-americano especialista em terapias de vidas passadas. Espero que você tenha gostado da nossa conversa e até o próximo almanaque.